Welcome to another edition of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle. During this hour, we're bringing you highlights from some of our shows focused on youth, community, and lifestyle. Please be sure to give us a follow on all of our social platforms. First up on How to Steam Your Dreams, check out some gameplay clips from the 2025 Wavebreakers Cup. Then on the BE Collective Plus, watch the recap of the 2025 HBCU House event, where we learn more about NIL education in the HBCU space. On Read Science, author Dan Egan talks climate issues and how our world is shifting out of balance on this part 3. Next on the Spotlight DMV, entrepreneur Pinky Cole sits down with Angie Ange for a refreshing conversation on this part 2. Finally, on the Hair Kitchen, we take a look at the sit down with artist Larry Poncho Brown, where he discusses what motivates his work and how he's continuing to elevate. Thank you for tuning into this week's programming of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle, and have a safe and happy New Year.
Thank you so much for attending the Aqua Bowl League. You guys have a little bit of time left for some free play. You know what I mean? I take money on Xbox, PlayStation with 2K, Madden, $5 a game. When you get ready, IOUs are available as well. Alright?
Can I get the district? It was finally off, but the two things is we did it in rage.
That's right, you get enraged at XPG Kids You Come. That's just like Aqua Bowl League. Let's go. Power up.
This has been an outstanding event. Thank you to our production team, myself, and Coach Justin. So appreciate you. Thanks to all our parents and from Cross Country Elementary that came and helped out. This has been a wonderful experience for Steam XR Sports, our first ABL championship. If you're interested in the game, get in the game because you got next. It's Aqua Ball League. It'll be out next year. Join our wish list. Subscribe to our channel. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh yeah, you trying to do it?
Our HBCU named and likeness solutions provider. Our goal is to support the HBCU community at large, understand and navigate the NIL landscape in college athletics. We do that through 3 pillars, one of this being here that we are today at our inaugural HBCU House initiative, where we look to engage HBCU alumni, students, supporters, brands, the whole community as far as educating about opportunities and which ways we can support our HBCU students and student athletes. Additionally, we do NIL education summits that we travel to different campuses, as well as esports, culture and content workshops where we also talk about opportunities that exist in NIL in the gaming industry as well. I would like to welcome everyone here to our inaugural HBCU House initiative. I thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our speakers, our sponsors, our partners that have all helped make this event possible. To not keep you all too long, I'd also like to bring up and welcome my co-host for our NIL and Sports Career Lounge, Mr. Vince Pearson. Vince has been one of our partners since day one. He was at our very first NIL Education Summit we did last year, and this is a very full circle moment as we embark on a new partnership between B Collective and the Black Sports Business Academy. Before we get started in our pods, I'll let Vince kind of explain a little bit more about BSBA and then give you guys some info of how we're going to start the day.
I appreciate it, brother. Well, as you said, it's been an honor to support not just you, but what you've been building and what we've all been building together around this initiative. So many familiar faces, and I consider us all partners in the work that we're doing. With the Black Sports Business Academy, we launched in 2020 in the midst of COVID with the idea that there was a lot of money flying around HBCUs, and that was support, and what a different time we're living in today. But our thought was that money doesn't necessarily guarantee career outcomes. And so we wanted to create an intervention of sorts that enhanced the learning experience and career outcomes for students at HBCUs who wanted to work in sports and entertainment. And so if you just listen to that, you can already hear the direct connection between what B Collective is doing and the work that we're doing. So it was always very proud to support, whether being able to show up in person or support from a distance, what B Collective and the HBCU Collective has been up to. And so now I'm really excited to make it official, to hold hands in the spotlight, so to speak, and start to charge at this work together. And we see a pathway of doing that not only through what we're doing today with HBCU House and the mentorship pods where students will learn directly from executives in sports, doing the things that they want to do. But even beyond that, and things that we can do with campus events, other stops for this tour, and things that we just haven't even had a chance to think of just yet. So very excited to be here today. Flew in from Detroit as soon as the call was made. I just got back from my honeymoon on Wednesday. That's the real thing. But this was so important, I knew that I wanted to be here for it, and I'll fly back home tonight. So, as was mentioned, I'll be co-host, so to speak. I would love to meet everybody one-on-one. And then if there's any way that I can support, whether today or beyond, please feel free to grab me, say what's up, and let's find a way to connect.
Awesome. Thank you, Vince. With that said, we'll get started with our NIL and Sports Career Lounge. So what that will entail, as students come in throughout the day for the next hour and a half or so, we'll have them floating through. We have speakers placed strategically throughout this space to talk about various industry aspects of the sports business. We have pods that are dedicated to sports business and careers. We have pods that are dedicated to NIL and personal branding. And we also have pods that are dedicated to leadership and entrepreneurship. And so we have our speakers placed. If you see any students that do come in and trickle in, please direct them to one of our pods. We'll have rotations going throughout this time so that the goal is that we'll have all of our students be able to interact with all of our speakers during this time. After that, we will transition into our leadership and legacy panel. And then following that leadership and legacy panel, for those that are 21 and older, at 5 we'll begin our wine and spirits tasting for our evening festivities. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I thank you all for your support.
My name is Candy Waller. I am the president of Bowie Television. Part of my role there is just managing all of the things, and I just so happen to also be the on-site reporter for the station for the Washington Commanders. We also cover the Baltimore Ravens on site. Through my sports and media outlets, Sports and Entertainment, I've also covered the Washington Wizards, the Washington Mystics, done all the things from Super Bowl to NBA All-Star to whatever it is that you would like to name. I've pretty much done all of it. So it is a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to meet all of you in the room.
Thank you, Waller. Hi everyone, I am Dr. Tabia Pope. I'm the president and CEO of Head of Speech Incorporated. I am a sports speech language pathologist. Head of Speech is a nonprofit organization dedicated to athlete brain health, sports concussions, and their effects on cognitive communication. We really are the bridge to athletics and communication sciences. We connect with communities for awareness and training. We integrate brain health into athletes' normal routines, and we expand career pathways into brain health and sports careers in speech language pathology. For the past 2 years, I've served as a Black Men's Brain Health Emerging Scholar at the Super Bowl, and so I do a lot of work with athletes with social impact branding, as well as helping them with the career transition with brain health and cognitive skills training. So thank you for having me.
Changed in 2019 because so much water went down the Mississippi that it basically, when it hit the Gulf, it turned the coast, particularly east of New Orleans, fresh water.
Fresh water, yeah.
I can't remember what the numbers are. I think it's seawater is typically like 30 parts per thousand salt. And I talked to a guy in Alabama, he was like 60 miles from where the Mississippi spills into the Gulf. And he was out on a boat 10 miles out. He took a salinity reading one day of 5 parts per thousand, which, I mean, he couldn't believe it. He was sure when he was telling me this, it was like he was explaining watching somebody push open a casket and get up and walk. I mean, I remember he called it bonkers. And it wasn't just Alabama, it was the whole Mississippi coast that summer turned fresh water. But that water wasn't just water, it had a lot of phosphorus in it. So for the first time, I guess significantly, that I was able to determine, we had this toxic algae, blue-green algae outbreaks on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, in Mississippi in particular. And so that summer, I think the first beach closure happened in the late June, and the beaches were closed for the whole summer. And I don't know if you've been to Mississippi in the summer, but you want to swim. It's muggy. And so I went down there, and I was trying to just explain the connection. And that's what this book really is. It's just connecting dots to paint a picture so people can understand what's going on and what the issues and opportunities are. But in this case, it was showing how farms way up in the watershed, way up, were polluting Mississippi beaches.
That's right.
And I like to tell, because of my journalistic background, I do like to tell these stories as actual stories through people's experiences. And I encountered a guy down in Mississippi that summer who had bought a fleet of jet skis, expecting a banner year, and he couldn't rent them because the beaches were closed. So he was taking them up to Georgia to sell them because he had to pay the bank.
Right.
And he was saying, why am I being regulated out of business when the source of the problem is largely unregulated?
Right.
That's a real good question.
I thought it was a terrific answer to a mental question people would have. It's like, why do we need all these national regulations? They just get in the way of everything. But your answer was, how else are you going to deal with Iowa runoff producing dead zones in the Gulf?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't want to disparage or vilify agriculture. And they're operating under the system that we've put in place.
We've set up for them, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You've put, I reread this book as well. I read this and then I reread this, and in both of them, you got farmers going, we're working with it, and why should we be the bad guys and stuff like that.
And there's a phenomenon too where farmers will acknowledge that there's a problem, but it's not their problem.
They didn't do it.
They're doing
I'm
things,
doing it. Right.
They're using less phosphorus than they had been, and they are, but this is a legacy problem. There's a lot of phosphorus unused, built up in soils that it's going to be leaching out even if we stop this gusher. It used to be a trickle into the natural world, and we've turned it into a gusher. And we can't turn it off because we need to feed ourselves. But what we really need to do, if I do have one goal in this book, it's to get people thinking again about the circle of life. Because as I said earlier, with the forests, things would die, decay, and open the door to the next generation. And once we started agriculture, where you grow something in one place and eat it in another and expel it in another place, that land is being stripped of its essential nutrients, and it's going to have to be replenished. And so what's the answer? Well, it's undeniable that we're going to need to keep mining the fertilizer, the phosphorus rocks that we have. But we also have to stop looking at these manure lagoons that I was just talking about as piles of waste, because like you think at the lengths that the British were going to in the 1800s, they would see a lagoon like that, not as like a big tub of muck. They'd see it as food, which is what it is. And there's a lot of opportunities now to start treating this stuff, as a point source pollution and refining the nitrogen and the phosphorus in it, as well as stripping out the methane. I mean, there was a story in my hometown newspaper last summer about anaerobic digesters on some of the bigger concentrated animal feeding operations, CAFOs, factory farms up in northeastern Wisconsin, where they're stripping out the methane, and because of some California subsidies, it's pretty close to generating some of these operators as much money as their milk.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So the manure is the brown stuff's worth as much as the white stuff, and that's just in terms of energy, not in terms of nutrients. And there are, technologies where you can strip the phosphorus out of that stuff, and it'll be as pure as anything coming out of a chemical factory. So that's one of my aims with this book, is to just get people thinking like we can't use this once and chuck it in the water. And that's what we've been doing, since the 1850s with the construction of sewers. And it was a great idea in the 1850s, like in London and in Paris. There was so much, cholera and typhoid that they didn't really have a choice. But what makes sense in 1850 doesn't necessarily make sense in 2020. And so we're living in 2020.
I found where I'd written down from late in the book that you said there's globally, there's about 3 million tons of phosphorus annually in human waste. And your point is we can't neglect that.
No, and we can't. And there's places where it's starting to happen. And so human waste is I don't know the percent, but if we used it all, what percent that would meet our annual phosphorus demand. But I've seen some reporting where it's been estimated like 50% of our fertilizer needs could be derived just from animal manure. 50%, and in humans are going to be less, but it's also easier to treat the human stuff because of our sewers and our wastewater treatment plants. And so, going back real quickly to talk about the string of this book, when I started it, I didn't know I was gonna end up here, but I started in Germany in 1669. When the first alchemist cooked phosphorus, elemental phosphorus, the dangerous stuff, out of his urine. And, that was just kind of the dawn of our relationship, our known relationship with phosphorus. And then in 1943, Hamburg got burned to the ground by Allied bombers dropping incendiaries, many of them being phosphorus. And so that's really where the book starts. It starts with, so these bombs look a lot like fireworks, just these glowing globules drifting down, trailed by a streak of smoke. The difference is when these globules land, whether it's on a roof of a house or the head of a person, it burns all the way through. It burns just, I forgot the degree at which it's burning, but it's insanely hot. And so this was this property was utilized by the Allies to burn Hamburg and some other cities to the ground. And this was illuminating to me that, I thought in World War II, we were just trying to, with conventional weapons, trying to blow cities and people to smithereens, but it wasn't like that. They were trying to burn cities down, and they were working with architects, German architects, to find out like the layouts of the typical house and typical neighborhoods of Hamburg. And so they dropped big bombs to basically open up the windows, blow out the roofs, so heat and other stuff could convect through a structure. But then they drop all these little bombs. Some of them were only like, 2 pounds, just these little fires. And they'd start, the idea was you start a bunch of fires and they meet and they turn into a tornado firestorm. And that's exactly what happened. And so Hamburg today, the stonework survived, but a lot, not all, but much of the town burned down. But not all those bombs landed on their targets, obviously.
Yeah.
Some of them landed in water, or the globules landed in water, where they basically are stuck, frozen in time. Because once phosphorus hits water, it stops burning and it becomes stable as a pebble. It looks like a pebble. And so it looks a lot like amber. And so in this region in northern Germany, along the Elbe River and the Baltic coast, people literally hunt for Baltic amber. It's like Alaskan salmon. It's like a trademark, Baltic amber. And so there's signs on the beach now saying, hey, be careful what you're picking up because it may not be good. It may be phosphorus. And so I opened up the book with a guy who he thought he had a piece of fossilized oyster shell, and then he put it in his pocket, and the stuff is stable. It just glows until it hits 80 degrees Fahrenheit or so. So he picked it from the cold Baltic Sea, and it was, stable as a rock. Put it in his pants pocket, and then it just explodes. He had no idea what it was. And, they were going to call a helicopter, but he kept going into the water, and this is winter. He kept going into the water because if he came out, it would flare up. And so they were going to bring a helicopter, but they didn't know what it was, what was going on, and they thought it may bring down the helicopter. So they finally packed him in wet towels, I believe, and put him in an ambulance and took him off to where the phosphorus what was left was removed. But he burned about a third of his body horribly. And this doesn't happen every day, but you can do a Google search. It happens. And so Hamburg, it was discovered there. Hamburg was destroyed by it. And then today, Hamburg is really kind of the hope for the future because Germany's got very strict phosphorus discharge laws coming online by the end of the 2020s. And so the wastewater treatment plant at Hamburg, I forgot, it serves 2 or 3 million people, something like that. They've got a phosphorus recovery system on that I visited when it was still just being constructed. They had a pilot project working, but it's online now, and it just came online at the end of last year, so just a matter of months. And I think it's humming along just fine, and it's taken all the phosphorus out of the water. Virtually, you can never get to zero, but it's pretty, 0.00.
So this is a waste treatment place where they're
waste treatment
point.
Right.
And so they're producing phosphorus from it, and that's phosphorus that they're going to use as fertilizer because Europe, I was saying the U.S. is going to be soon running low on phosphorus. Europe's already there. They're dependent on other countries. So this is one way to get some semblance of nutritional independence from other countries, but it's also protecting the water. And so they see the circle of life, and they're trying to stitch it back because these sewers and our agriculture efforts basically took that circle and cracked it and straightened it into a line where it runs from crop to algae in the water.
Right. So
I'd like a little bit about that algae if you.
Yeah, I was curious about the algae and the toxins and how, it's great for the algae, but it's bad for life. The rest, and humans. The very beginning of your book was the guy running from the police and he ends up in a swamp or lake or something, and the policeman's like, that's gonna mess you up.
People are going to say, what's the problem with a little algae? There's always been algae.
Yeah.
Well, I also want you to touch on Guam because I'm always surprised when I see Guam. I lived on Guam as a middle schooler and high schooler, and I'm like, hey, Guam's in the book. Oh, that's not a good reason.
Joanne, yeah.
Yeah. So this toxic algae, it's actually a cyanobacteria. It's not technically an algae. It's like a photosynthesizing bacteria known as blue-green algae or cyanobacteria or just toxic algae. And, it's been around on Earth.
And it looks like this.
That's Lake Erie. Yeah, that is Lake Erie.
Sorry, I'm trying to keep the glow, but
Yeah, you can see a little research vessel on the side by the S. If you fell in that water, you'd be in big trouble because it's not water.
Yes.
It's poisonous. And so
we've had cyanobacteria pretty much since the emergence of life on Earth, right?
Yeah,
so what's the deal?
It was really drove the great oxygenation event. I mean, it kicked oxygen into the atmosphere, the explosion of this stuff billions of years ago, to the point that we have life as we know it today. But it's not all good, and it releases toxins, and so it's growing now at rates that aren't natural, and that's because of the human inputs of phosphorus into various freshwater bodies. And the consequences of exposure to this can be everything from just kind of bothersome to deadly. And so the one of the most common forms of this cyanobacteria is called microcystis, and it produces a toxin known as microcystin. And that's it's a liver toxin. It causes respiratory issues and GI issues. And so in the summer of, I think it was 2019 as well, I was in Florida. And Florida's in a fix with this stuff because the center of the peninsula is so heavily agriculture that it's kicking off a lot of excess phosphorus that ends up in Lake Okeechobee. It's like this 30-mile wide round circular lake. In the middle of the state. It's really shallow. It's really flat. It's really warm. It's often flat unless it's hurricane season, and so it incubates this toxic algae. And then when hurricane season comes, the lake is really a man-made lake because of the berms containing it. And those berms have a history of failing. They killed thousands of people a century ago in two episodes where they collapsed and just drowned. I think it was 2,000 people at one point, and 2 years later.
This ain't a money game we playing with entrepreneurship. This is a creativity game. Like, how can you expand your mindset to be able to create new ideas that will continue to scale your brand? The reason why Apple works is because every 9 months they come out with a new product. Okay, you can't even use that charger no more in that car because they came out with something new. You understand what I'm saying? But somebody is back there expanding the mindset because they don't want to ever get comfortable. Because the minute they get comfortable, there's going to be T-Mobile, or there's going to be somebody else, or there's going to be another company, Microsoft, is going to come in and do what they didn't do because they got comfortable and they were sitting around and not thinking about big ideas.
Yeah. I want to talk about beta because a lot of people don't know what beta is, but beta is really important. I had one of my other entrepreneurs, Omi Bell, she used to say, all entrepreneurship is one big experiment.
Yes.
And so beta, speak to that word and what that means, what that means to you and what that means in business.
So let's think about an app, right? So let's think about Instagram. So before Instagram launches a new product, and a new product could be like where the button goes on the interface on Instagram. You ever go on Instagram and like, okay, I remember this button was over here this time, but now they push it over here, psyche, right? So beta is when they do a trial run of a certain thing to make sure that it works. It's a group case study, right? Make sure that it works. Do people like it? Is it user friendly? So you do this study to identify if it works or not, and you do the study with people, right? You test it out. Beta is almost like when they test medicine with animals. That is also in beta, but tech specifically, beta is an opportunity to identify if a product will work or not and how well it will work. What are the bugs that need to be fixed? How do you need to change it? So let's talk about entrepreneurship. When I said everything is in beta, every single day that I wake up, there is a new opportunity to do something different, right? It's like a marathon. I'm Pinky in the brain in real life, okay? Pinky, how are we going to take over the world, okay? There is a new challenge to unlock every single day. And when I say beta, as a founder, there's blueprints all over the place. But you're walking in a real-time blueprint, especially for me. I'm building a vegan empire. You see vegan restaurants closing every single day. So here I am trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Do people like Impossible? Do people not want soy? Do people want to have more healthier options? Do they want wraps, or do they want food that tastes like regular people food? And that beta for me is testing it out with the people, asking people questions, doing surveys, seeing what it is that people like, what they don't like, and all that is called is data. Data drives businesses. If you are an entrepreneur, you got to make sure that you got that data. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that is making sure that you have the phone number and the email to every single person who patronizes your business, because you can utilize them in a way in which it helps you make decisions on how to grow your company. So while you're in beta and you're launching a new product, you can utilize the people that consume you the most. And that's the people that spend their dollars on you. So I'm forever in beta, always coming up with new ideas, especially now, to take my business to the next level. Because if you want to be great, you got to talk like the greats, you got to walk like the greats, you got to move like the greats. That's the only way to get to where you want to be. You have to always be researching. You have to always be identifying how the data can help you. And you have to always be finding ways to unlock challenges.
I love that. Did everybody catch that?
We all catch that.
Right? Always stay in beta. Beta creates the data, data creates the product. Some of y'all out here selling slippers and don't nobody wear them anymore. So that's because you didn't test it. You didn't test it.
Stay in beta.
Stay in. So I'm gonna pause again before we keep the conversation going. Anybody got any questions so far?
Oh, we got one.
Okay, come on. Because I don't like to wait to the end. Come with it.
First of all, I want to thank you all for sharing your knowledge with us today. I'm in that stage right now of discovering when to transition my business to an in-profit business. So I've been investing for 5 years. I've developed the skill set of being able to time investments. And I'm sharing this within a group of 30 people in a chat. I feel as though because I haven't discovered, I haven't reached a certain dollar sign that I want next to my net worth, that I should be charging for my services. So I'm trying to understand when is the right time to make that jump. But the main thing that I have been trying to do is build community. So I've been hosting events in DC. I just had one recently at the park at 14th. I did that because I attended an event last November called the Black Wealth Summit, and I met local entrepreneurs and a couple guys you may know them from Iron Legion. So it was like an eye-opening experience. So my question is, when is the right time to make that jump in terms of, wanting to offer community service, but also profit from it?
Okay, so I got an idea for you. What's the name of what you do? What's the name of your business?
NAV Trades.
NAV Trades?
NAV Trades.
And is your audience black people who trade?
Yes, primarily.
Okay, all right, I got an idea for you. It might not work for you, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm about to give you a whole playbook. Okay? So you're not making money right now, right?
Not for my community, no.
Okay, so what you're going to do is you are going to build a community that people are going to pay a subscription fee to be a part of your community. And you need to call it Black People Who Trade, right? I know it sounds simple, follow me. Black People Who Trade is an organization for black people who trade. Sometimes we make it so difficult. It ain't even gotta be difficult, okay? Follow me. You're gonna create this organization. They are going to pay $500 a month, right? Recurring. You're gonna get a subscription. There's a couple of subscription-based model services online. I forget the name. Dora, if you remember the name, say it out loud. But there are a couple of organizations where you pay them a fee, they build the community for you, and people just tap into the community. You charge them $500 a month every month. What do they get for $500 a month? This is basic, right? For $500 a month, what you'll do is 3 times a week, you'll bring in different traders to come and do fireside chats, to do workshops with the people. So they're not just talking to you. Now you're bringing on different speakers. You're bringing on Wall Street Trapper. You're bringing on all the other people that are in the game that trade, whether they are beginning level or whether they are at the macro level and doing big things. So for your $500, your value is $15,000 because you'll get to connect with people who are teaching you in real time. This is at the basic level. Now for the people who want coaching, now they gotta pay $1,500 a month, and that's a different group. So you got the basic group for the beginners, for the people who just want to get access to the information, and then $1,500 a month is where they pay you directly and you can coach them. and you have intimate coaching sessions where you teach them how to trade. You teach them the art of the business, and they get to have a daily or a bi-day, like every other day call with you to talk about what's happening in the market. Or maybe you do a morning call every single morning when the market opens, and they get access to that call, and in real time they get to trade with you. So you're making the money off the $500. All you need to start is, you got your 30 people, 30 times 500, boom, that's the basics. And if they want a little bit more than that, $1,500. And for $1,500, they get one-on-one access with you. They get to email the people who just did the workshop, right? And now you have this whole full association. And guess what you want to do? Every single year, you're going to do a conference called Black People Who Trade. And every single person who trades in Black America is going to come to this conference. You're going to have a keynote speaker. You're going to have fireside chats like this. Okay, you're going to have different tech booths so people can tap into different opportunities in the tech world, and you're going to build a marketplace for people that are interested in trading, and you're going to do it every year. There'll be it's a ticketed event. People pay tickets to come, so this is a different price. So you got 3 streams of income. You got the basic, you got the coaching, and then you got people who want to come to the conference every single year. And then the last thing that you want to do, you're going to write a book about trading for dummies, how to trade. Black People Who Trade, the book. And you'll get a publicist. Follow me, because people think it's complicated. It's very simple. Then you're going to write a book. And it's so easy, you're going to get AI to help you write that book, okay? You're going to get AI to help you. Y'all laughing, but he's going to do it, and y'all going to be like, damn, how he did it. You're going to get AI to help you write that book. Then you're going to get you a publicist. You're going to start a nonprofit organization that's going to help people in this community learn how to trade. Black people in this community who learn how to trade. And then you'll have a scholarship gala every single year to provide scholarships for the people so that they can learn how to trade and go to school and get their money. There you go. There's your whole. And it's never later. Black People Who Trade. Go trade right now. And BlackPeopleWhoTrade.com. Then you got the Black People Who Trade merch.
And then we got a question about now. I'll send you the bill for that presentation. Okay? It can be, you can send it in the form of stocks. And I'm going to add, as someone who comes from a family of financial advisors, and I want to get into this with you next. Whatever you do with that, however you follow that plan, know the legal side of what you're doing, because you've got to be careful about giving financial advice when you are not licensed to do so. So disclaimer.
Are you licensed? Not currently. Okay, so that's the first thing. Before we do Black People Who Trade, let's go with license. Before you just set it up.
Yeah, you want to make sure your credentials are in order. And I'm going to talk about that because as business grows, it requires, it starts with the idea, and a lot of us are great with the creative side, but it's the operational that I want to talk to you about that I think is really important that we don't miss. Because we may have the game plan, we may have great ideas, but if we are not, if we don't have the right people around us to help us with the operation, you can quickly build and lose it. Yes. And so I'm going to talk about that, but I also, again, I open it up for questions as we go. So yes, sir, if you could tell us your name and go from there, please.
Hello, my name is Arvin Lassiter, and I have a suggestion for you too, brother. When you do have, you have everything signed up like she said, you can actually ask them to come to your event, and that would be part of the package as well, yes, coming to your event. So the question I have for you is, without getting into detail, I know you said you unfortunately lost your company and then you brought it back. What is some of the things that you've learned from that you can share with us on the pitfalls so we can kind of maneuver around that? Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that's what she was about to ask me too.
Yes, because you started off, you had one store or one truck, and you're managing the finances of that, and then you quickly grew. So again, one moment, a lot of times, one viral moment can change the impact of your business. Some people, I would say things move slow until they move fast, right? So it may have felt like it was taking a while. Next thing you know, this opportunity comes, boom, you're at the top, everybody's trying to offer you money. I'm sure you had investors throwing money at you. Now you're growing really fast, but you only know what you know. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about growing too fast, how that happens, and just managing your operation.
So, great question. So, I'm gonna take y'all back down memory lane. All right, so I started the company in 2018. And from 18 to 2021, I ran the company myself. I need y'all to pay attention really close because this is gonna be a valuable lesson in here. I ran the company myself from 18 to 2021. And I'm talking about, I ran it from front to back. And then I started having babies. I had a baby in 21. I had a baby in 22. And I had a baby in 23. And I had an IUD in 24. Okay. Okay, but I had a lot of kids in the meantime. And, you know, they tell you when you start scaling your company that you put people in position to run your business, right? Y'all heard that before. Like, when you start scaling, you get the right people. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I started putting people in place. I'm like, hey, I'm having these kids. I'm going to take a back seat. I'm going to still be the mascot of the brand. I'm going to still be the face of the business. I'm still going to be the storyteller because that is the part that I do well. And y'all go off and be great and run the business. The problem is that I got too comfortable. And when you get comfortable, everything that you build can crumble. And my comfortability was the fact that I stopped paying attention to the business because I trusted that the people that I put in position had it under control. So every single year, I'm making double-digit millions, but when you look up under the hood of the car, ain't no engine in it. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Every year, making money has never been my problem. Making the money and bringing the money in was easy. But when you have $20 million in debt and a company that has 14 stores and you have more debt than you have revenue, there's no way you can survive. It's like the Titanic sinking slowly. I remember the movie like, Rose. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. And here I am. I come back in the company after having my last baby in 2023, December 2023. I came back January 2024 with my buckets, trying to catch the water out the ship. And it was too late because the boat had already submerged. I'm metaphorically speaking to you. So here I have these investors, and they're great, right? These are wonderful folks, but at the same time, they're trying to build generational wealth too. So when they give you money, they expect to see a return on investment. So at the time, I couldn't understand why they no longer wanted to help me. No, they didn't want to help me because we done spent the money. We did a lot of great things with the money, but it was ambitious. And
welcome to another episode of the Hair Kitchen. And I'm just so excited to be here. First off, let me say that I'll probably be smiling the whole time during the show because one of my near and dear friends, Mr. Larry Poncho Brown, said yes to the opportunity to give us the opportunity to bring him to you through our show. And Baltimore has always been a city of rhythm, resistance, and raw creativity. From its streets to its studios, art here doesn't just decorate life, it documents it. Today's guest is someone whose work reflects the grit, the beauty, and the truth of this city. Larry Poncho Brown is a renowned Baltimore artist whose journey has been shaped by culture, community, and challenge. Today, we're going to walk through his story, from his upbringing to his present-day plight in the arts. Welcome to the show, Poncho.
Thank you so much. G. Marie in the house.
You are so welcome. I have this in my lap, just FYI, the Poncho. This is such a work of art. I got a chance to read the story part, which is in the very beginning. So I did get a chance to walk through your life a little bit. So I'm going to bounce back and forth and talking about the book. And if you don't have the book, you need to get this book. I don't know if there are any more in print.
TheArtOfPoncho.net. TheArtOfPoncho.net.
Okay, well, there you go. See, I thought I was the one and only. I thought I got the last version. And I don't know about you guys, but I got a signed copy. Yeah.
Signed versions are extra online.
Okay. We'll see. See. So I want to start back into the weeds and the roots of it and your upbringing in Baltimore. Take us back to your childhood. What part of Baltimore did you grow up in?
I was predominantly raised in East Baltimore, but I was the how can I say it? I was the child of teenage parents, and my father was an artist, and so I am the child of a frustrated teenage artist that gave up his dream of being an artist to take care of me.
Oh, wow.
And so, in a nutshell, that's it. I grew up. I'm a baby boomer, just like my parents. They were born in '45. I was born in '62. A lot of our sensibilities are the same because it's that same generation. But with that comes pluses and negatives. I have probably more pluses than the average person would have. I didn't have to deal with certain things with my family. I didn't have them living vicariously through me. I didn't have them trying to chart a path where I should or should not be going. I never had anybody give me any negative statements or energy towards what my dreams were. And so that was my humble beginning. The flip side of that is my dad was a frustrated artist. He was a teenager, so he didn't have all the emotional capacity to sit down and talk to me or express what that felt like to me. This is in the '60s, man. Nobody had time to do that. You know what I mean? They were busy trying to survive, let alone talk about art. But the other kind is I was trying to be like him. So I drew all the time. And so the nurturing part of him was not there. My biggest support probably was my mother because, mothers love everything you do, right? But my dad always was trying to get his validation, but never really could. So I think at early age, I realized, well, I'm never going to get validation from him. So I might as well just do what I do. And that's kind of how I got started. So I was fortunate to, like you, to have some kind of trade training. My sister also went to vocational education as well. So most of us were taught a trade to be able to start a business. And I was really one of those people. And those people are dying off quick. Matter of fact, the new generations don't even do it like we did. We could leave high school and start a business. But now you can't do that so much. So that was my humble beginning between my family situation and my early education that kind of forged the path for me.
In the book, you have a paragraph in here. We have a lot in here, but I've read about you talking about your dad and your mom, and you talked about a type of a printing press. So if I'm peeking in the window of your house where your dad has this printing press that you mentioned, and you were watching him because your first business was a sign business, correct?
Yes. I took commercial art in school, so sign painting was really what kept me out of trouble.
Okay. And so you saw, would you say that you're seeing your dad use this press had some influence on you going into that?
It had to. I mean, when you're 11, 12 years old, your dad's got a small platen press that I don't even know where he got it from. He probably bought it from somebody and bought it home. It was probably 28 by 28 inches. It was on a stand. All you had to do was stand in front of it. It could fit inside. So we were doing business cards. And so my early years of seeing somebody selling printing it had to be influential, even though I may not have put footnotes on it. There's no way you can have that kind of experience and it not rub off somewhere.
Mm-hmm. At what point did you realize this wasn't just something you enjoyed, but something that you really needed and wanted to pursue in your life?
I don't think I ever went through a thing of even questioning that. It was in me. I knew it was. There was a lot of other things that wasn't in me. So for me, I just did what I was good at. I mean, I was not the most athletic kid. I was not the most competitive kid in my neighborhood. That stuff came later. So it was just a hobby for me. It was something I spent all my time doing when I wasn't outside, because I was an outside kid. If you wasn't outside, you know, so balancing outside and inside was always a thing. So I would always be in the house when I should have been outside, but I enjoyed outside time. That time is gone.
Right, right. When did you identify as an artist? When did you say I'm an artist? Like we grow up saying I want to be a nurse or I want to be a doctor. When did that like hit home for you?
Being an artist was always part of my vocabulary. So I didn't have to decide to be one. It was kind of there. And if people asked me what I wanted to be, I would usually say something stupid and then add artist. Like early days would be, I want to be a yellow school bus driver and an artist. I'll never forget, I was in 6th grade. Everybody made the students stand up, say what you want to be when you get big. I'm like, everybody, doctor, lawyer, teacher, pastor, marine biologist, even in the 60s, right? Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom. But anyway, so I said yellow school bus driver and an artist, and the class started laughing. And the teacher says, no. Being a school bus driver is an honorable job. And so I'm confused now because I don't know whether they're laughing at the bus or if they were laughing at the artist, because I only wanted to be a yellow school bus driver because I got tired of walking to school and the bus would pass me every day. I wasn't even tripping out on the fact that the kids on there all had helmets on. So be careful what you ask for. It just drove by every day, and the young me had an aspiration one day to, if I ain't gonna be on the bus, I'm gonna drive one. Silly kid. And then I would also draw pictures of school buses with flames on the side and mag wheels and But then back to what the teacher said, that was the first pivotal moment when I wasn't sure about whether being an artist was cool or not cool in the eyes of others, because that one situation, it's like she didn't even acknowledge the art part.
Yeah,
she went straight for with the bus
what
driver,
she could
an honorable
process.
job, but she never said anything about a bus driver and an artist are two honorable. He chose one, and I didn't know which one the kids were laughing at.
It's interesting because people do that. They downplay, and they don't even realize they're downplaying someone's dream or desires. They do it in.
Teachers not supposed to have everything. They come with their own idiosyncrasies. Half of them there because they had nowhere else to go.
Okay.
You know, they weren't going to be corporate. The teaching was the thing that they could do that would shut people up from asking them what their future was going to be. There's certain things you could choose to do, and when you say it, people just leave it the hell alone. They don't even ask you a second question. Being a teacher is one of them.
Yeah.
No, if you say hairdresser, they're going to ask you 1,000 questions about being a hairdresser. If I'm an artist, you and I have been out before, you know, and we've played this role where we go to social events and people start going around the table asking,
"Oh God,
what do you do?"
Yeah.
And I always hated that because I hated having to justify the mystique of what an artist is to people. So I started coming up with lies and saying I was out. Two things would shut them down completely. Either I was going to be a mortician, that shuts them down cold.
No one wants to talk to you anymore.
And then I think one of the ones I used when we went
Bounty
out
hunter
was bounty hunter.
No one wants to talk to you anymore either. Those two things don't warrant a conversation.
And I'm working.
Exactly. So if any of you got any claims right now, any warrants, I suggest you leave the table.
Yeah, so I never had an issue with identity as far as that word, an artist, and what that represents. As a matter of fact, I think I embraced that pretty early in life.
That's good. Looking back, do you think your art was more about expression, survival, or storytelling?
It's all of it.
Okay.
It's therapy first.
I know I read that in your book.
If I'm looking down and I'm drawing, I'm not tuning into the world. I'm time traveling. I could be isolated. There's a lot of things that happens from that energy. You know what I'm saying? So before you add the other elements to it, that's what it is first. Now, I'm trying to figure out if you want to do it for a career or as a hobbyist or professional and all that is those are other decisions to make. But for me, it was just linear. I liked it. I was going to do it, and I was going to figure out a way to do it, even though the roadmap of how to do it wasn't already established.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the therapy portion in your book, and I thought that was quite interesting because looking at art can be therapeutic for those of us on the outside who aren't artistic like that, and we're not artists.
Mm-hmm.
So it never even crossed my mind that it could be therapy for the actual person.
Well, think about it. When you talk about any kind of situation in the medical field, the holistic field, when you start talking about all the challenges that people are dealing with, art is one of the few things that is a known therapy for a multitude of things. People with deficit disorders and all kinds of other things, depression. It's one way to tap into what people can't say if they can express it. Children have been drawing images of people who have oppressed them or violated them. So I mean, it's always been that. We just look at it from a Eurocentric view of, can I afford it? Is it art on the wall? Is it fancy? Is it doing whatever? Is it matching my drapes in my sofa? Not to what is it for?
My drapes
well, it's the truth, because everybody collect for different reasons, and as long as you start collecting and you feel like you're part of that audience, you got to realize there are all kinds of people that are collecting for different reasons. You know, so for me, I start with the therapy first, because artists always want to talk about and look at my career and judge it from what they think they see. But for me, it's way simpler than that. I say thank you to God for my gifts by every piece I do. And every 2 pieces I do stops me from slapping one person.
Oh my. Okay, well, you did 80 of them, so that's about 40 people in this quarantine.
So no, it's all good. It keeps me going, because, you know, artists and depression, they are 2 words that go hand in hand. People don't talk about that. Creative people and depression go hand in hand. And so people that write, that do music, that they all have, with creativity comes this depressive emotional thing. And when you're creating, you can hold this at bay. When you're not creating, this can become chaotic. And so for most of us, finding the balance of the 2 is what we're striving for. We're not worried about whether we get paid, what people like, what we do, X, Y, and Z. We're trying to figure out a balance that where we can get the most of whatever we do, because everybody's doing it for different reasons. I'm an extremist. This is all or nothing for me. I didn't have a plan B, a plan C. It was A only. And I can eat beans and water if we don't make it.
Right. As your work evolved, so did your visibility